Excuse me. Can I quit this podcast? I told Eddie Murphy to stay in college so he'd have something to fall back on. I give great advice. Welcome to Stand Up Memories.
We've done this in a while. Hope you remember how to do it.
Welcome to Stand Up Memories.
That's close. That's close. Now do it with feeling.
Welcome to Stand Up Memories. I'm Peter Bales, and this is Jackie, the Joke Man Martling, and we are in our new home at Drake Media Studios right here on Long Island. We love it. Great place.
I'm sitting here watching the paint dry.
And we have a terrific guest. This guest is...
Tell them who you are. Did you do that?
I said, Peter Bales, Jackie the Joke Man Martling. Let's roll right into it.
Oh, okay.
Our guest...
Start the show.
Our guest is the one and the only Richie Minervini, who is a terrific comedian, working all over the place, still very, very busy, and the godfather of Long Island comedy. I think that's fair. I think he started the first comedy club, full-time comedy club, right here on Long Island, the famous East Side Comedy Club. What year was that?
1979.
1979.
I will take an assist because we created the show at Cinnamon that grew into the...
That was a one-night show at Cinnamon in Huntington Village, and that was terrific. That was you and Richie together.
But we had no idea it was going to work.
No.
We thought it would, but we had no idea.
We asked them for their worst night, and they said, we're closed on Mondays. We'll take it.
Richie, do you know who the first one was?
You know, at gunpoint, he can't tell the truth. It was the show at Cinnamon was every Tuesday for 15 years.
Okay, Tuesday.
Okay.
I was going to say Tuesday.
Now, that was
when it doesn't matter.
That was a one-nighter, and it was so successful, starting in 1979, that it led to the East Side Comedy Club. And I'm bragging, and I'm telling you, I was flattered, but you asked me to host the first show. And
I still think you're the greatest.
And I remember walking up the steps to the stage, and I knew I was christening officially a club, and I actually lifted my foot up and put that first foot on the stage. That's how aware I was of what the situation was. The first official show at the East Side Comedy Club, owned by what's his name again?
Now we're going to have to edit this show.
No, we're not. That's fine.
Just the week with
Richie Minervini.
It was in the papers. The headlines read in Newsday, a small step for mankind, a big step for comedians. I remember it like it happened yesterday.
Is that true? You put that in? That's wonderful. Richie Minervini, that club made history. You had everybody there. It was power-packed. It was kind of a low ceiling. Whatever the acoustics were, they worked.
It worked.
And you had the bar behind the folding doors.
Fun.
So much fun. I can't...
Actually, I have to thank Brian Ruggles for that sound. Brian Ruggles, the sound man for Billy Joe Forever, was a friend. He came in and goes, this sound sucks. And he goes, let me do it for you. So how was that going to go? He goes, shut up. You don't worry about it. And he put in some old Billy Joel speakers up there, sound system, incredible.
And you
For the first time out, it was just set up perfectly and sounded perfect.
People did, but really you couldn't bomb at the East Side. It was just, the tables were right there, right up on you, and the lighting was perfect, and the sound was perfect, and the energy was perfect, and it was new.
Everything was so new.
Because comedy was hot for the first time. Nobody ever saw anything like that before. And my point is, you gave stage time to people who really took it and ran with it.
Well, that's true, but there's so many people, oh man, I didn't give anybody directions at all. 10 minutes, don't curse, and then you can always come back. You cursed, you insulted my audience, told them they sucked, didn't see you again. But there's a great Adam Sandler story, because years later I got to be in one of his movies. He goes, hey, do you remember the first time I came to your club? I said, yeah, absolutely. What did I do? I said, you went on stage, you were dressed pretty much the way you dress now, but you look poor. No one, of course you were poor. And you said, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you know this, but Elvis Presley lives in my refrigerator. And I opened it up, and he went, hey, Adam, every time you close that door, the light goes off. I'm sorry, Mr. Presley. I'll get another light. And I'm howling. No one's laughing. I'm howling, and he comes up the stage. He goes, "Did you like that?" I said, "Yeah, you got to come back, man. I need to have you back in 3 months." He goes, "All right." So I don't see him till Grown Ups 1 when I'm counting the stand in. And I go, "Hey, man, how come you didn't come back?" He said, "You told me to come back in 3 months." I was so excited. Yeah. Well, I was in the car with 2 other guys from Staten Island, Vic Triola, and they said they're coming back next month. I never told the comic they couldn't come back. It was like, if you sucked, it was a year. You know, if you didn't suck, it was 9 months.
You were kind to a lot of people.
Well, if they didn't curse, then they came back, you know.
You know, what made me crazy is I put on so many shows at so many bars, like we did at Cinnamon. Every bar, you know, I had bring my amplifier and speakers, and I get the guys from the city or the guys from Long Island. Remember all those crazy gigs we did all over the island. And I remember almost all of them, and I had never met Sandler. And because of you, I got to go to the party for Grown Ups too, and I knew David Spade, and I knew Chris Rock, and I knew Kevin, all the guys I had met, but I had never met Sandler. And I went up to him, I said, "Hey, it's nice to finally meet you." And he said, "Oh, I met you a long time ago." I said, "No, I would remember that." He says, "Yeah, I opened for you at one of your shows at one of those bars on Long Island." And I said, "I remember every guy I ever worked with and every show. This is the one I choose to forget." And he must have sucked. You know, he must.
He was the audience. I dug him, but he was out there, and he looked nervous. He wouldn't look at the audience.
Such a nice guy.
Do you remember the first time you ever saw Eddie Murphy?
Oh yeah, I'd be at Dixon's.
At Dixon's?
And he killed but I know why he killed and no one else did. He did Richard's album. We never watched Richard Pryor. We watched George Carlin. We watched Robert Klein.
Right.
That was another element that we wouldn't want to listen to. So I said to him, "Hey, man," he goes, "You're very funny. You want to try doing some of your own material?" He goes, "Well, you looking at smacked in the mouth?" So then so I boxed for 10 years. I said, "Let's go." And I started slapping. He goes, "Oh, you box too?" I said, "I'll try some of my own material next week." And yeah, he was a great guy. Yeah,
There was a little tiny green room, and I've told this on the show before, but I'm looking at you. Eddie was a teenager. He looks at me and he goes, "You know, I'm conflicted. I want to do comedy full time, but I'm thinking I still need to keep going to college at Nassau Community College." And I said, "You know, Eddie, look, stay in college. You need something to fall back on." And he didn't take my advice.
Holy mackerel.
Oh, man. Eddie Murphy.
All I remember is him saying, "I'm be bigger than the Beatles. I'm going to be bigger than them." We're all, "Shut up. I'll be bigger than the Beatles. Shut up, Eddie."
The poor kid was in high school. We'd pick him up and drive him to Mustache Pete's and all these. We'd be drinking. "Hey, I got class tomorrow. I got to be up at 5:30. "We'll get home by 5:30. Don't you worry."
Remember, he'd fake that he's asleep in the back seat so he didn't have to pay the toll for the Project Bridge.
Hold the head.
You know what? He couldn't have been nicer.
No.
He could not have been nicer. My father came to see my show. Welcome to Stand-Up Therapy. Came to my show once in my life, and it was at the East Side. And Eddie jumped up and shook his hand. "Hello, Mr. Bales." Could not have been nicer.
No.
And for the next 20 years, my father, inappropriately from another generation, would ask me, "So do you ever see that nice black boy anymore?" And I said, "He's the most famous
Turn on the TV.
comedian and a superstar actor."
Your father never saw him again.
I never saw him again.
That was
You know, but Eddie had a super talent and
super nice guy. He called up my mom. I get into the office. She goes, "Hi, Eddie. No, I don't watch Saturday Night Live. I've told you this many times. You have to keep it clean, but you don't listen to me." "Give me that phone. Give me that phone." He goes, "Hey, I wanted to come and do a guest set, but your mother doesn't think I'm clean." "No, you come on down anytime you want."
All right. I saw Eddie. We had a one-nighter in Staten Island, and quite frankly, the Italian-based Staten Island audience, he wasn't famous yet, was not really welcoming to an African-American.
No.
And he went up to silence, got him in 5 minutes, and long story short, I'll never forget this, got off to a standing ovation.
Yeah,
He had the talent dripping off of him.
yeah.
And make it a
To
combination.
get the Staten Islanders up,
Oh.
black guy.
No, he did it. I saw it with my own
No, I'm
I
saying that.
saw it with my own eyes.
The Pips, was it Pips?
No,
No, that's
that's
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn Sheepshead Way.
That was a rough room.
That was a rough room. That was a rough room.
So I'm in the city, comic strip, and David Brenner goes, "Hey, I got a Carson coming up. You got a car?" I go, "Yeah. I want to run my 8-minute set." I go, "Yeah, okay. Can you drive me to Dayton?" "Yeah, I'll drive you to Dayton." "Okay, can you drive me to?" And every time he went to a different, he took off his suit, he put on his running suit, his Adidas outfit, and we go to the next club. Then he go to Catch and he changed it to his suit. He goes, "I'm not happy with my set. Can you drive me out to Pips?" I said, "Sure." We drive to Pips. They're animals. They're yelling. They're screaming. He's got his jogging suit on. He goes, "Do me a favor. Do me a favor, MINNERVINI. Do me a favor." "Yeah, gotta do me a favor. Can you go up and do 10 and bring me up?" I went, "No, it's a horrible crowd. You're not my crowd. Just do 5. Bring me up." I go up on stage. You got to walk by the piano like this. You're afraid to fall 5 feet into the pit. And ladies and gentlemen, he's going to be on Carson on Friday. He's here now. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. David Brenner. Doesn't have a suit on. He comes out in his tracksuit and his hair is wet. He goes, "Oh, hello. I'm sorry I'm late. I just graduated 20 guys to black belt, and I got about 15 brown belts out there. And I'm just going to do my Carson show." And the crowd all of a sudden quiets down. He does his show, kills it. I get off and go, "I didn't know you were a karate instructor." "I'm not. But if they thought there were 20 black belts out there, they thought they'd get their heads kicked in. I figured they'd listen up, man." I was like, "Oh, you're brilliant."
He was such a character, man. That would.
And he was brilliant. He played East Side, and was a big hit every time.
Big hit every
You know,
single time.
they say, I say, from hosting so many shows, that the bigger the comedian, the shorter the introduction. You know what David Brenner's introduction was when he stopped into one of the city clubs? No, I'll just walk up. You don't need to bring me up. He wanted to just walk up without any MC going,
Do it cold.
"Do it cold." That's
I
what he
saw that
wanted.
twice before. Westbury Music Fair, no introduction verbally, just music. "Thanks for the memories." Ba-dum-ba-da-ba-da. Standing ovation, Bob Hope. So I'm talking to a guy in Florida, a piano player, Errol Flynn, not Errol Flynn, Errol. Anyway, piano play. He sang the national anthem for Frank Sinatra at Madison Square Garden, and he said,
Errol Dante.
Dante,
He was a friar. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Friar. So he's playing golf with Bob, and he's in the orchestra with Bob, and he said, "Bob, everywhere we go, they played 2 notes, dun, ba-da-da-da-da, and you got a standing ovation. What's that feel like?" He said, "Bob Hope put his arm around me. He said, 'Errol, my friend, that is an experience you will never know.'"
That's great. That's great. So what are your memories of Jackie Mason? Jackie Martling has tons of memories of Jackie
yeah?
Mason.
We all do.
I met him at Dangerfields. I couldn't get on Dangerfields. David Heenan was the MC. He used to come out to Dixon's. I didn't ever give him a good spot because he was a city comic. So he would tell me to come in, and I'd wait there all night and never get on. So I knew Dangerfield was playing on a Sunday, Westbury, where Ed Sommerfeld as manager and Tony Pavaca, the owner. I knew they were all going to be there. So I drive up, put a nice suit on. "Hey, Rodney said I can jump on stage." "Well, Rodney's at Westbury." "Yeah, he said he's going to be back, but Ed Sommerfeld's thinking about managing me. And Bobby, big Bobby, grabbing by the neck. I don't know who the F you are. I don't know what the hell you're thinking. I'm going to put you on, and you best be funny." So here, I go up there. I'm having a good show, and Bobby gives me the stretch. I'm thinking, "Oh, this is great." I come off the stage. "I thought you were very funny. Mr. Pavaca thought you were funny. Mr. Sommerfeld thought you were funny. And Mr. Rodney Dangerfield thought you were funny. They have no idea who the F you are. Sit here." And he's got a hand on my shoulder, Big Bobby. I'm like, everyone's leaving. I'm thinking, I heard this was a mob joint. I'm going to get whacked. And Pavaca's here, and Ed Sommerfeld's here. Rodney's always, "What'd you use my name for? Why you say?" I said, "Look, I know him great. I want to make sure you guys got the credit." And he put his head around my arm. He goes, "The kid's all right. The kid's all right." Yeah. Which leads me into Jackie. I'm going to see Dangerfield. I don't talk to him ever again. I never see him. But Jackie, you're at Dangerfield? Yeah. And Jack goes, "Can I get in this?" "I don't know, Jack."
His lie is why I wound up writing for Rodney, or soul jokes to Rodney. Because me and Lois lived at my grandmother's house, and Richie walks in and says, "Oh man, I was at Dangerfields, and I went on and I killed."
Which was not true.
And And Rodney told me he loved me, he wants to use me for stuff. And I was so jealous because we were all so new. And I was so pissed. So I sat at my typewriter, and any joke, any of my jokes like I could make into a Rodney joke, I typed 6 pages. And one of them happened to be the famous 2-bagger joke that my friend had told me a couple weeks before. And I typed them up and I folded them up and put them in an envelope. And the next time Richie walked into my old grandmother's house, I said, Richie, you got to give these to your friend Rodney. He said, oh, man. I didn't meet Rodney. He said, I was there the other night. I didn't even get on stage. Rodney wasn't even there. I'm like, you motherfucker. And I already had typed up the jokes. So I just put them in, they were already in the envelope, and it's on Rodney Dangerfield.
Gave you the postcard.
He said, but I was there, and he took out a matchbook. I still have the, oh, of course I do. I still have the
So
matchbook.
how did you get the jokes to Rodney?
I just looked at I had the envelope and it said Rodney Dangerfield and just copied the address off the matchbook, like 111 First Avenue, and just mailed it. And 2 days later,
I'm sorry to interrupt your thought. Hold that thought because they got to cut for a second. Something happened. She just caught my attention. So
All right.
go back to the top of this Rodney Dangerfield story. We've never had to do this before, but
Okay.
you know, yeah.
What was the top? I mean, it was at
we were talking about him for a half hour.
That's true. So I think you were just talking about you had given him some jokes,
Oh, okay.
and he said, "Oh, I never met him."
yeah, the lie.
Yeah.
Richie's lie is what started your relationship with.
When you're ready, we'll pick it up.
I think in today's generation, when I say fabrication,
I think lie is. I'll start it and you pick it up. I'll just say. So I know what to say, and then just go. A separate story for another.
Wait till they,
They're
not rolling yet.
I know, but this is just comment to you. A separate. Okay. Just tell us when.
don't talk.
off the subject, I'm a little concerned about Cole, to be honest with you. He's
I
a,
think I saw him. I think you walked by.
Well, everything is back in action.
Is Joey out there?
Joey's,
So is here.
he's safe? Good. We were worried about.
Good. He's under control. He's making a phone call.
Okay.
You tell us when to start.
You're back in action.
So you're telling me that Richie Minervini's lie is what?
No. You really don't. It's not polite to use the word lie,
I agree.
except when you're talking about Minervini. You have got to use the word lie.
But his lie got your material to Rodney?
My girlfriend and I lived at my grandmother's house. She had passed away, and we were all struggling, blah, blah. And sometimes Rich, you'd come and stop in to see us in Mineola, or he'd stay over. And one night he walked in and said, man, I went on stage at Dangerfields. I killed. Rodney saw me. He loved me. He wants to use me. And I was like so excited for him, but so jealous. And I sat down at my typewriter and, you know, of course I used the copy paper, the litmus paper. What's it called? The carbon paper.
Carbon paper.
Because I still have the copy. And I typed out 6 pages worth of jokes, including the famous 2-bagger joke, and put them in an envelope and wrote Rodney. And next time Richie came in, I said, Richie, you got to give these to your friend Rodney. He said, oh man, I never met him. You know, he wasn't there. I didn't get on stage. I'm like, you son of a, he goes, but I was there. And he reached in his pocket and took out a matchbook. I swear on my mother, the Rodney caricature like this, and 1118 2nd Avenue or whatever it was, 1st Avenue. And I just copied the address exactly onto the envelope from the matchbook, because what do you got to lose? It's the price of a stamp. And 2 days later, the phone rings, and I'm sitting at having lunch with my girlfriend, and the phone rings, and nobody, my grandmother's dead. Everybody she knew was dead, and everybody in the family knew she wasn't there. Who would have this number? And of course, that was the number I'd given him. So the phone rings, hello. I said, who is this? I said, it's Rodney. I said, Rodney who? I said, I knew you were all fucking funny. I knew it. And Lois was like, who is it? I said, it's Rodney Dangerfield. She said, come on, who is it, Richie? It's Rodney. There's some funny stuff here, Come to Westburg. And it was all because of his fabrication.
All right, I want to make a request here. And then I'm going to tell my favorite Richie Minervini story. Okay, but it's a personal story, but it's a Richie Minervini story. But first, you've mentioned for the audience the famous Tennessee two-bagger joke, which I maintain is the funniest thing Rodney Dangerfield ever said anywhere, and he said it on The Tonight Show and actually blew Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson laughed so back he rolled back in his chair away from the desk. And by the time it made the air, it wasn't Tennessee two-bagger anymore.
No,
But explain the genesis of this joke.
what happened was my friend JR was in Peru selling coke, doing coke, being crazy. He was a rich kid.
Always like that guy.
He was a friend. He was a friend. And he called one night, and it was about 3 or 4 in the morning from Peru. And I answered the phone, and he knew enough to know that, of course, I was drunk. So to keep me on the phone long enough that I would remember that he called, he said, "Hey, Chief, you got to hear this joke. I met this guy, Bob, from Tennessee. He told me the funny joke. He said, this girl is so ugly, she's known as a Tennessee two-bagger. That's a girl so ugly, you got to put a bag over your own head in case the bag over her head rips." And I fell out of bed. I thought it was so funny. And then I just typed it in with the other 6 pages. And that was the one that really hooked him.
Oh,
he
that,
bought 4 jokes. We said, "There's two-baggers, the funniest thing I ever saw." You know, funny thing.
how much was the joke for Rodney back then?
He sent me a check for $200 for 4 jokes. One of them was, "I've been drinking too much, Johnny. Yeah, it's nice to be back in men's clothes." And
That's good.
and you know, she was so fat she got on a scale and a card came out and said, "Hey, one at a time." And there was one other, but he
Was it the olive joke? No, I'm drinking too much. Took a urine sample, they found an olive in it. Is it?
yeah. But we went to went to.
So it started at $50. And
So it was always $50. Everybody at Catch a Rising Star had sold him a joke at some point or another. You know, I always said if the guys all got together, you could probably piece together a whole Tonight Show routine. But you know,
But years of working with him, by the end, it was 52-50,
yeah,
a joke.
yeah. You know, I don't think I ever made another penny with him because he would use the jokes, but he wouldn't acknowledge it. And it wasn't because he was cheap. It was just that he was doing coke and getting drunk. He's not paying attention.
Unlike Carson, who paid for a joke and never yelled at one of his staff for giving him a bad joke. Once he took the joke, he told them, "What are you guys writing?" When he took the joke out there and it bombed, never went back and said, that was the worst joke ever. He owned it. Rodney, on the other hand, would practice the joke before he paid for it. Generally speaking, he'd hear the joke and go, "All right, let me see how that works." He'd go up on stage a couple times, but by the time he's done it 4 times, he forgot he got it.
Of course. And it's so funny because
I saw the whole transition going.
I have this Rodney doll this big, and you push the button, it tells a joke, and there's so many jokes in it, you never get to them all. And the other day, I hit the button, and it was one of the jokes that he had never paid for. I'm like, when is it going to? And then on Twitter, they always have old Rodney stuff, and you see stuff that's my joke, But I didn't care because it was it was fine, and I just caught up with him and said, "Listen, you're doing jokes without paying me, and I'm sure you're just not organized." And that's when he said, "Okay, let's say it was 10 jokes, you owe me $1,000. So let's say you owe me 10 more jokes." And when I tried to explain that on the Stern Show, Rodney said, "I don't know anything about buying jokes." That's all it took. So for the rest of my time in the Stern Show, I stole money from Rodney. I accused Rodney of lying. And I wasn't going to throw him under the bus. He was our hero.
Yeah.
What am I say? Rodney, you were so drunk and coked up and out of your mind.
You never stoned buying jokes. You never admitted to buying jokes in the paper. I write my own stuff, baby. I write my own stuff.
So listen,
Which is fine.
here is my favorite Richie Minervini story. It's personal. You had a speedboat, a small speedboat at one point, and somehow it ended up the 3 of us, me, you, and Kevin James, who I don't think was famous yet.
No.
The 3 of us went.
He was hanging out with me.
You invited the 3 of us. Somehow the 3 of us are tooling around Long Island Sound, summer day, just relaxing. And
On your way to fire.
another speedboat had these 2 beautiful girls in bikinis. And we could see them Now, Richie being Richie did not I would have hesitated, but Richie didn't hesitate. He goes, I'm going over there. And he drives the speedboat over to the side of their speedboat, two beautiful girls in bikinis. And he goes, hi, I am Richie Minervini. I'm the owner of the East Side Comedy Club, and I'm a comedian. You might recognize me. And the girls looked at me and they said, aren't you Peter Bales? Don't you host the dating game at Chuckles on Thursday nights? And I said, yes, ladies, I am. And that
wasn't music to your ears.
That was music to my ears. And I tell everybody who will list strangers I go up to and tell that story too.
Oh, that's a good story.
Oh, man.
The backstory of Peter finding those girls and renting them the boat is the whole deal, you know,
Yes.
so they would do that.
Oh, man.
You know how he screwed me? Oh, I did not. When I was I don't know if I told this story on the air or whatever, but when I was with Rodney in Las Vegas, at some point he said, oh, I got to get a girl. He called up and he called a hooker. And the girl came up and she came in the room and, you know, we're sitting around and getting stoned and doing coke and having a great old time. And what's his name from Barney Miller? Steve.
Gutenberg.
Not Steve Gutenberg.
Steve Landsberg.
Oh, Landsberg. No, Gutenberg. Gutenberg,
Which is
invented the printing press and published the Gutenberg Bible.
So
It's easy to confuse the two guys.
all these people are popping in, and it's so much fun. And Rodney said, I can't take this. I got to get a girl. So he calls this girl, and this pretty hot girl comes and shows up, and she's there. We're talking for a while or whatever, and I go, well, I guess I better leave you guys alone. And it was the greatest acting I ever did. I was like, you know, you have fun. I'll see you later. And I walked to the door and said, bye, you know. And I was right down the hall. Like 20 minutes later, the phone rang. Hello? She's on her way down. All right, she's coming down there. She's coming down. I said, what? I saw the look on your face. Don't bullshit me. You know, I know you, blah, 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 blah. So he sends the hooker down to my room. And meanwhile, we've been in Fort Lauderdale looking at the college girls for a week. And now we're in Las Vegas and I'm about to explode. And in walks this prostitute. So we have a crazy time. And meanwhile, she's probably been with 60, 70, 80-year-old guys forever. And here I am, a 30-year-old kid, raring to go. And I gave her quite a ride. And she said, that was so great. If you want to do that again, it's on me. I'm like, wow. Well, then again. And then when I told that story, Richie'd say, yeah, Rodney gave her money to say that.
That might be the most self-serving story I've ever heard on any podcast.
No,
The punchline.
the point was,
He called up Rodney the next thing. Rodney, that girl came down here. She said, look, I'm usually with old men. I'm trying to be a nurse. I'm going to school. I haven't had a boyfriend in a while. You were the best lover I've ever had. Let's do another one on me. And Rodney went, yeah, that cost me an extra $500. That was a joke I made out of that.
that was Richie's story,
Oh, man.
which was great.
I remember you getting shot on stage at East Side.
Almost.
No, the guy, my friend Bobby Wisnowski, the guy.
Yeah.
He came in, he was a cop. He came in, listen, do some Polish jokes with me. I got a girlfriend. I don't want to do Polish. I'm bringing a girl tonight. I want to make it look good. So I go, what? You pick on me a little bit. I'll show my badge, blah, blah, blah. All right. So I want to impress the guy for his girlfriend. Hey, what are you, a cop, Polish cop? Oh, my God. Blah, 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 blah. Couple of jokes. Well, I get laughed with it. So you came on next. I brought you up. And you stayed with me. You go, hey, I don't know you. And he takes out his gun. And another guy goes, drop it right there. No, it's a blank. I have a blank. Another cop, and putting his gun on my friend Bobby Wisnowski's head, he's on stage like Lee Harvey.
Like an actual gun went off?
It was a blank. I didn't know. It
He's on
freaked
stage,
me out.
Lee Harvey Oswald, he goes,
I mean,
and he stays there. We have to go up. And but Peter, it was just a blank. And we walked
But
up
a
the
blank
stage.
gun is still the sound
the
of a
gun.
gun.
I know.
Do you know the cop grabbed a gun on this guy ready to shoot him?
do you know that
The audience freaked out of their
Freaked
tree.
out of his-
I was freaked out?
Yeah, he was.
And if anybody would have been, I had blanked that out of my mind. And now I have to go to therapy and discuss this. I'd suppressed that memory. That's so traumatic.
Imagine what that would have done for comedy if he had a shot Bales.
Oh man. You know,
On New Day. But I remember we actually had to walk Peter off stage, and he was,
Good news is Bales is in Newsday. The bad news, he was murdered on stage.
yes, and they were very strict at East Side.
How did I never hear that
No,
story?
because I was traumatized by it. I was
pretty traumatized.
and they're so strict at East Side. That guy was suspended from the club for about 45 minutes.
Oh, we threw him out that night.
Yeah, Jeff, for that night. But a couple things because we
The other cop who almost shot that guy.
yeah.
He was really traumatized. He said,
Oh man.
I was a half a second away from blowing this guy away.
Oh man. But that was East Side. There were a lot of people had poor judgment at East Side. Okay. But listen, we're getting this signal to wrap up, and let's just say some things. I want to say thank you to Drake Media Studios. Hey, you need video done. This is the place to come. Drake Media Studios, right here on Long Island, centrally located. I wanted to definitely say that. Thank you, Donna Drake, for having us.
Thank you, Donna Drake.
And we can't end this without mentioning the Long Island Comedy
my
Mic.
gosh,
Come on,
yeah.
tell us.
Oh gosh, I got a phone call. The Long Island Music Museum in Stony Brook is putting a wing on to have a wing on for this 8 original comics on Long Island, including Peter Bales and Jackie Martling, Richie Minervini, Bobby Woods, David Hawthorne, Jimmy Myers, Rob Bartlett, and Bob Nelson, and Ferrantino, who was the 8th one of the Magnificent Seven. He's a freaking magician.
Still trying to get in.
In November, they're going to be putting a wing on in the Comedy Hall of Fame of Long Island. So
In Stony Brook.
it's going to be great.
That's a great little place. We showed my documentary there, and we did a Q&A, and it's a hard place to find, but once you find it, it's so easy to find. It's weird. It's in the back of but it's great.
The documentary was great. It really was nice work.
Well, I wasn't trying to plug that, but that was my introduction to the place, and they're very nice guys, you know.
And Richie, the East Side Comedy Club is your legacy. And it's not around anymore, but the comedy that happened there and the guys that you gave stage time to, all credit to you, and it was magic. And I don't know if anything like that will ever exist again, but
My ear was...
Speaking of which, do you know what happened with John Ossoff?
No, I used to love John Oates. I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood. I grew up in Uganda. He told that joke in 1978. I've never forgotten it. Yeah. And we have it in John Ossoff.
I have no idea.
I thought you could tell me so-and-so.
but hey,
All I remember from him is, you go in the bathroom and says, employees, please wash hands. What are the rest of us? Zoo dwellers?
That's where I got that.
Zoo dwellers.
Richie and Jackie both, and I'm afraid myself too. I think we're going to be doing comedy till we drop.
Yeah.
I think it's in our blood. But I think we got it. We got addicted at the East Side.
It was great.
It was such an amazing place. And this, we're in our new location here at Drake Media Studio. Love it, right?
DMS.
Not too bad.
Not too shabby. Thank
Not
you,
too
Donna.
shabby.
And Richie, we got to do this again. We scratched the surface.
Scratch the surface.
Richie,
Yeah, we're going to do a whole nother show about Jackie Mason.
We
A whole
got
nother show.
the Robert Klein.
we got Robert Klein,
A lot of stuff happened.
and my favorite,
And who's it? Hannah Youngman.
my personal idol that I don't think many people remember. You should remember. Pat Paulson appeared.
I always thought your idol was you.
All right, this has been.
Pat Tolson was the only guy duller on stage than Peter.
Can we tell the Jerry Stanley story?
Jerry, go ahead. Oh, yeah. Go.
He's driving with Pat Paulson, rainy road. He's like, look at this hit action. The car spins off the road, goes downhill. I was always in the car in my story. I might not have been there.
Joe Bolster was in there.
Everyone's screaming.
Well, I know.
And Jerry's screaming, Bolster's screaming. The car comes to a halt, and Paulson said, I don't know what all the commotion was about. Headlines would have read, Pat Paulson, 3 others perish.
And he was right.
That was great. Yeah.
All right, here's the real wrap-up. Richie Minervini,
Thank you very much, folks.
Jackie the Joke Man Martling. I am Peter Bales, and this has been Stand Up Memories. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.
It's better than Joe Franklin.